Yo, what's up, Wix here, episode 25, wiring part 4, let's go. Hey, what's up, Wix here again, carrying on with this STI build, episode 25, wiring part 4. Now today I'm going to be talking about installing the sensors for oil pressure, oil temp and also fuel pressure. I'm actually going to cover a little bit more in this episode. I think originally I said I was going to break this wiring down into 10 parts. I think it's going to be a whole lot shorter than that. So first of all, the oil pressure and temp gauge. So these are the Bosch sensors. And I've just got a little adapter on it, but you can kind of see the sensor inside there. Now this one sensor does both oil temp and oil pressure. So it's a 4-wire, 5-volt ground, obviously the pressure wire, which I'll call signal 1, and the temp wire, which will be signal 2. So nice and easy. I've got a little adapter on there that will screw straight into the block in the front, which we saw in the last episode. And then I've got this fuel pressure sensor here, which is from AEM. It's just your normal 150 psi fuel pressure sensor. 3 gauge, 3 wire, 5-volt ground, and your sensor or your signal wire. I've also managed to get a hold of, a lot of people said to install this fuel pressure into my regulator, but I've run out of ports on my regulator, and they said I could take the gauge off and put this in, but this is really ugly and I really want to keep the gauge, and I spent a lot of money on the beautiful Radium gauge, so I do want to run it. So I've been told that I can run it off the supply line. So I've managed to grab this little fitting here. It's just an AN male to male, but in the middle it's got a little port for the fuel pressure sensor. So it just works like that, nice and easy. Put a couple of straight fittings on the side, chop it in between my little supply fuel hose. So I'll cut it in the middle of this tape, put it in there, probably point down like that, and then I can plug it up. So this hose is the one that comes from the steel fuel lines up in the corner by the washer, and this goes to the T before it splits off to each rail. So I thought if I get the pressure on the supply line, that'll be a good reading other than the fuel regulator itself. So that's that part. So I said I was going to make a loom for both sensors. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and made probably the other half of my engine loom up already. So this actually took quite a bit of time to make. So I've spent about, I don't know, 2 frustrated days of putting stuff in, taking stuff out, and I've ended up with this. So these are the plugs that end up by the firewall, and these are all the plugs for everything I need, which are, so this is the fuel pressure sensor, what's this one, IAT, intake air temperature sensor, my throttle, my water temp. This one is my oil pressure light. Now I got told I don't really need to run this, but I thought I'd keep it in. This is the one that, so it's a 1-wire. This is one that activates the light on the dash, on the factory dash. but we kind of know that if that light is showing, your engine is probably gone by then anyway. So but I thought I'd keep it in. This one is the plug for the twin Bosch sensor, and then I've got my drive-by-wire plug all ready to go as well. So that's all linked up, ready to go. I've just tidied up my other loom that I previously had on the last setup. So these run my injectors, just the earth. So I've got 4 injectors, the earth, and this one is the plug to the factory Subaru coil pack, because I'm gonna attempt to run wasted spark, and we'll see how we go with it. So those looms are ready to go. So what I'm going to do today is, other than hooking those up properly and installing the pressure sensors, most of my wiring, or especially this one, most of this loom is going to go under, I don't know if you can remember, I've got a steel plate that we've made up, but I need to give that plate a scuff up, and I'm just going to paint it satin black. So that's what I'm going to do today. That will allow me, because I've taken the alternator off as well, I'm going to do the same with the alternator cover. I decided to make it black to try and highlight all the polished stuff just a little bit more. So I need to paint those. I can get the plate back in, and before I get the plate back in, this loom is going to sit under that plate, so hopefully you won't see much of it other than just the plug ends. So that's the plan for today. And then when I get the plug in, when I get that plate in, I'll start installing these sensors, get this fuel line cut, install that little fitting for the fuel pressure sensor. Hopefully, I don't know, see how I go, but by the end of this episode I will have all the engine loom in, and I should have the plate back in, the alternator back in. I should be able to put the intake manifold back on as well, but we'll see how we go. So so I'm gonna get the plate and the alternator cover, and I'm gonna start scuffing them up, ready for paint. So let's go. Okay, so a few hours went by, and as normal, nothing went to plan, but I did get some stuff done. So let's have a look. So for starters, I have a black plate, still pretty tacky, so I thought I'd leave it for the day. I tried to pick it up before and it had left fingerprints in it, so I resprayed it, and I'll just leave it like that. Also put my factory coil pack back in, so that's all good to go. I got the alternator covers sprayed up in black, so I still need to put that back together. And I have got my loom in. So this is the new loom that I made. This is what's going to sit underneath that plate, and hopefully most of it will be hidden. So that's all good to go. So for the rest of this episode, what I might do is I might just finish connecting the oil pressure, oil temp and fuel pressure sensor up to the ECU. Okay, so that's all. Yeah, so that's all I'll cover in this episode, just the oil pressure sensor, oil temp and the fuel pressure sensor as well. So still got a few parts to come up to this wiring. We've still got VVT solenoids to link up, rear cam sensors, map sensor, boost solenoid, and also just remembered about my 2 external fuel pumps as well. So also still need to hook this up in one of them. So this is my second extension or expansion loom, so I need to link that up. Also sprayed the bracket to the regulator as well while I was at it. So yeah, trying to keep these parts relatively quick. I've got work in a few hours, so I'm going to go get a bit of shut eye before I head off to work. So I'll just carry on with this tomorrow. Okay, so we're making some progress. I have painted the plate black as well as the alternator. Came out looking pretty good. Hopefully it does its trick. So I just painted them black, to one for the plate to hide a bit of stuff underneath, and I painted the alternator black because the option was paint it black or polish it, but I thought if I polished it, it would take the polished sort of feature away from the intercooler pipe that goes right around it. So I thought by making it black, it'll highlight the pipe just a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's how it's going to go, but we'll see what happens when I put the piping back on. But anyway, I've got my Bosch double sensor all screwed up now. Plug is on. I've got the loom underneath. Hopefully that doesn't need to be touched again. So on that loom as well is the oil light that goes to the factory dash, and under some more is the water temp sensor that's hooked up to the main pipe that sits on top of the block. Also hooked up to this loom as well is this plug here, this one, and that's the one that'll go into my fuel pressure sensor. So I've done the oil, loom's ready to go, so this is all ready to plug into the throttle, and this one here is my intake air temp sensor. So getting excited again, car's slowly coming back together. So that's that side. We'll just take a look at the wiring side. Okay, so ignore the spaghetti junction. Remember, my plan is to clean all this up when I'm finished hooking up everything, but this white and orange wire right here, these are the orange one is the oil temp, and the green one is the oil pressure. So oil pressure, we've gone into the tab that I made that says AN volt 4 oil press, so that's that wire. And this orange one goes to my expansion loom plug, because that goes to AN temp 3. And then number 2, I still need to hook up number 2, I might do that now. Number 2 temp, AN temp 2 is my intake air temp sensor. So where is that wire? I think it's this one here. This is my air temp sensor, so I need to ground that, and I'll hook that one up to temp 2. I'll do that now. And then the last one is my fuel pressure, which is coming off the back of this plug here, and it's this white cable here which goes to my second expansion loom, which is currently sitting over here, and so that's analog volt 8, which is on that expansion there. So I'll get those hooked up, we'll have a quick look, and then hopefully that'll probably end the episode. So far, winning, it's good. Hey, what's up, y'all? I was planning on doing a little bit more for this episode, but I have been doing a little bit, and I think I'm going to end it here because stuff is getting a little bit out of hand. One example is I had to pull my in-tank fuel pump out, so I managed to get some wiring done, and I started testing a little bit of stuff. And one of the things I tested was my in-tank fuel pump. Now when I turned the test on the laptop, I could hear the relay clicking but nothing on the pump. So I tried a few other things, checked the fuses, checked the relay, that was all good. So I had to pull the pump out, went to go hook it up to my little tester battery over there, and nothing would work. I know this is faulty because this is my old external pump. It's a Bosch pump, and when I do the same test, that one turns on, this one does not. So unfortunate, but I need to throw this in the bin. In saying that, this was with the car when I bought it, and I'm pretty sure it's close to 10 years old, maybe a bit longer than that, so it is time for it to go. The other thing I was thinking is that I am going to be running E85, and I'm not sure if this can handle sitting in E85. So this is a Bosch equivalent to the 044 external pump, but it's the internal version. So yeah, not sure, but obviously it's not going, so I need to get rid of it. So I have ordered a new pump, a new AEM pump, so when that gets here I'll show you guys that. So that's one drama that happened, and the other one that I decided to do was have a look at my loom. So underneath towel number 1 is my current state of my loom. Voila. It was a whole lot tidier than this, as you saw earlier, but I got Selwyn over here on the weekend, and that's who was helping me do some testing, etc. And we had a big talk about I did have a plan on doing the nice loom once the car was going, but he's kind of twisted my arm to get it sorted now. So I've kind of stripped, I did have this plastic sheathing over it, which is only cheap. I've stripped all of that off, and I've kind of made a plan to run this instead. So underneath towel number 2, alright, we've got new cables to run. I've got some of the good stuff for the this is for my triggers, that shielded wire. I've got new injector plugs. I've bought a new, what size is this, size 20 douche connector, and in here I have bought one of the Deutsch, that word, one of the bulkhead connectors, which is kind of cool. So that's what I was planning on doing later, but we've decided to do it now. So if you remember, I had about maybe, wouldn't be surprised if it was close to 10 plugs that I had hanging in the corner over here. Wasn't so bad before. I had my, so they were hanging right where these ones are, and it wasn't so bad before my old design where I had my water to air cooler sitting here. You didn't see any of that, so it didn't bother me. But now we've shifted it, it's opened up that gap and you can see it, and that just looked like a mess. So I've stripped my loom completely off my engine again, and the plan is to rewire everything. And I'm not any good at doing looms, but I'm going to attempt to make well, the best job I can at making just a nice tidy looking loom. So new cable, I've got some new pins and stuff for the Denso plugs, so I'm going to try and get new pins for most stuff that I can. Anything that I can't, I'm having troubles trying to find another alternator plug. So anything I can't, I need to extend those wires so it'll reach the firewall. Doesn't quite reach. So anything like this will just get soldered and extended manually.
which is all good. You still won't see it, but if I can, I'll get some new pins and stuff and try and repin everything. So in this box came, I've actually got a new throttle body plug with new pins, so I'll repin that one. Because these wires are a little bit thick, I am using size, so this is the 47-way connector, and it has 5 size 16 Deutz plugs, which are the bigger ones, and size 20, which are the smaller ones. So it's a pretty cool kit. Comes with a lock nut, and it comes with all the pins that you need. So these are the smaller ones. So rather than me having trouble trying to put these thicker wires in it, I've got some new wire to run that's a little bit thinner. This is only powered by 5 volt, so I don't think it needs to be pretty meaty, whereas stuff like the injectors is powered with a 12 volt, so that needs to be a thick wire. So we'll keep that one thick, which I've got over here as well. So, cut a long story short, that's it for this episode. So I'm happy I got my Bosch Twin Sensor in. My fuel pressure sensors all ready to go. I did have them hooked up, and the links that I got on my original loom were good. So now I've just got to go and make a new one. Again, which has happened often on this car, not a part of the plan, but this will be in the next episode. So if you're keen to see how my new loom turns out, with instead of having 10 plugs, I will just have one plug that goes to the firewall, and it just locks in. So there'll be a thick cable, one thick cable instead of 20 million small ones. That's in the next episode. Please like, subscribe, comment if you want to know anything that I've done. Otherwise, we'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.